The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a financial planning practice serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of either Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services, Inc. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Fed15 podcast presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, Dane and I are here to discuss the latest news and info that Feds need to know in 15 minutes or less, sometimes a little bit more. But we get chatty. So whether you are a seasoned federal employee or just starting out in your career, Fed15 has got you covered. So grab your coffee, kick back, and we'll tell you what you need to know but might have missed. Once again, we are your host. I am Katelyn Murray, the newly dubbed financial lady. And I'm joined by the fantastic Mr. Dan Sipe.
Okay, now we gotta explain that one a little bit because it's awesome. So, I was meeting with a group of friends, and one of them said, "Oh, Dan, I watched your podcast by accident," which immediately had me in the moment of thanks. I think you were looking for something better, and you're stuck with me. What help? And then one of the other people said, "How did you happen to accidentally watch a Dan Sipe podcast?" And I was like, "Well, I was searching for this topic in YouTube, and it came up." And
nice.
I said, "Okay, great." And he said it was you and the financial lady, and she was great.
I love it.
So I just had to share that, and I would like to point out that at no point was I great, but I'm okay with this. I am absolutely okay with this. My entire life has been being associated with people smarter, more well-versed, better looking than me. And I just kind of draft along in their wake. So I'm happy to do that. So yes, you have been dubbed. There
we go. It's gonna be a tough hill to climb, but I'm looking for a trademark on that. The financial lady. I love it. I love it because it doesn't specify what kind of finance or what kind of
Oh yeah,
it's very interesting.
Yeah, you're global.
It's very fun. Love it.
Yes, absolutely.
All of it. Corporate, sure.
100%. 100%.
Despite that, I know nothing about that. But anywho, so that was a lot of fun.
Katelyn, before we jump in, though, I do want to take a moment to talk about something that we're encountering. Folks, we are literally seeing Feds practically 24/7, and we are happy to do that. We're happy to be here as a resource to make sure you understand what you have and make the best decisions. But boy, howdy, are we hearing some misconceptions that we are now going to be laboring and amplifying, correcting that. We have a family friend who sadly was riffed 3.5 years in and thought because they hadn't gotten to 5 years that it's all gone. It's like, no. At 5 years, they'd have owed you a pension at 62. So 5 years would have been good. But at 3.5, your TSP contributions were always yours. The match, all yours. The money that you contributed towards FERS, it's yours. If you leave it in there, it's going to count for your returning in the future. Or if at any point in time down the road, you say, "Hey, send it to me," they have to do that. So these are the things that we're going to be tackling because it hurts my heart to think that people are, number one, either making decisions based on incomplete information or worse, having these dark nights as a result of I've lost everything and, no. So there's an adage that I didn't hear until I was almost 60, and I wish I had heard it a whole lot sooner. And that is, if today you lost everything, and then tomorrow you simply got it all back, would that be the best day of your life? And I say, yes. So So I know some folks are out there thinking they're going to lose everything. I'm happy to inform you that won't happen. But it's so important. Come here. We're working really hard to get the information out. Do we have a full service fiduciary financial planning group? Absolutely. Do you ever have to talk to us about that? Absolutely not. You can come here at 3:00 in the morning and read all my stuff and sneak out. Never tell me. And I'm completely fine with that as long as you get the information you need because, and I think we're going to be saying this a lot more, what you don't know can hurt. So please, please, please keep that in mind. So Katelyn, what do we have on tap for today?
So today we've got some really interesting pieces. We're going to be diving into FEDVIP and kind of looking at today the vision benefits under that plan. In a later episode, we'll be looking at the dental benefits there. This is a 2-part series, as I mentioned on the website, just kind of going over some of the options there, how the enrollment works, and just a really good overview of that. I think that sometimes that gets overlooked. Obviously, FEHB, major topic, but FEDVIP deserves a little love too. So Dan's going to walk us through that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about kind of a hot topic recently, protecting your federal benefits from quantum threats. And that sounds very Marvel universe, but we'll talk about essentially cybersecurity and how to manage those risks and kind of some best practices there. So Dan, before we dive into, the world of quantum threats, why don't you take us through FEDVIP and teach us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So again, today we're talking about the vision benefit, which covers glasses, contact lenses, eye exams, other vision needs. As you might expect, it tracks a little, it's voluntary, so you can do it or not do it. Tracks a little bit with FEHB and its enrollment options because you can do self-only, which is just you, self plus one, which is you and another family member, or family that covers everybody. You sign up via the BeneFeds portal, so it's not through the FEHB system. If you go to our article on the website, you'll see those links. You're responsible for paying the entire premium. The agency does not contribute. However, you are putting in pre-tax dollars. Okay. And the coverage will continue after retirement without a 5-year coverage requirement. So that's a nice little thing. So using the FSA, HSA options for your vision care, it's basically going to cover the things that might not be covered by FEHB and FEDVIP. Okay, so you can have those components in there as well. And the Lex FSA can be used for vision care products and services. In order to enroll, you're going to be to have an HSA, you need to be in a high deductible health plan, and that can cover you and family members as well. Now, let's get to the benefits. Annual eye exams. Good idea, folks. I will tell you, I don't do it as much as I should. Okay. And I'm using this as a reminder for myself. Knucklehead. I realize you're meeting feds all day, every day with everything that's going on. You got to go take care of your eyeballs so you can keep doing good work for them. So this is Dan reminding himself of that, even though I'm not FEDVIP. Eyewear and prescriptions. Okay. So you can take care of the glasses, the contact lenses, things like that. Specialty coverage. For example, laser eye surgery discounts are in there. The coverage process, vision exams, and prescriptions first go through FEHB. Then remaining costs are submitted to FEDVIP if they're not covered by FEHB. And of course, bringing up the rear would be those HSA, FSAs, to make sure that you're rounded all the way out. This can really be a valuable addition to your federal benefits. Your eyes are important. You're going to want to see things your whole life, and you're going to want to see things clearly your whole life. Okay. And this is going to help you save on eye exam, glasses, contact lenses. And so we're big fans of it. Hit the article. That was kind of a high level. So Katelyn, tell us about quantum computing and security risks relative to benefits.
Yeah. So this is a big fancy title, protecting your federal benefits from quantum threats. So essentially, there is this thing called quantum computing. It's a multidisciplinary field that basically comprises different aspects of computer science, physics, and mathematics. And essentially what it's trying to do is leverage the field of quantum mechanics and quantum mechanic concepts to solve complex problems faster than on a classical computing sort of platform. These are things like machine learning, optimization, simulation of physical systems. And as this very kind of exciting field continues to develop and advance, it does threaten traditional encryption methods used to protect sensitive financial and personal data. So there is a concern, obviously, with, everything that's gone on as far as like access to systems in the federal space. Obviously, cybersecurity is a hot button topic and very much a focal point at this time. So we wanted to kind of spotlight this because we want folks to be aware of the emerging risks to help safeguard their benefits, savings, and digital security. So, couple of best practices for you, all right? When it comes to your TSP, when it comes to any financial account that you have, bank account as well, any kind of financial system or password that you have. And a lot of this we've heard before, but it serves as a good reminder because a lot of us that are not technophiles put this stuff off, and you cannot put this stuff off. So you need to strengthen your passwords, okay? Using a password manager is a really good way to do that. LastPass, not sponsored, obviously. LastPass is a great solution. There are several different, Google's got a password keeper as well, but they will give you recommendations for passwords to use that are unique and complex to help safeguard your account. The days of putting in your password as one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, 1, 2, 3, exclamation point are done. That's over. Please don't do that. If you've got your name anywhere in your password, please don't do that. If you've got your spouse's name anywhere in your password, please don't do that. It's got to be, the best passwords are typically phrases. So, something like if you've got a pet, right? Jake is a big, hairy gray dog, right? It's a lot to type in, but if you use a password manager, they'll automatically input it for you. But those phrases are a lot harder for computers to crack because they're, believe it or not, better than random letters and numbers, I've heard.
Interesting.
Yes. So think in phrases for your passwords, use numbers, use symbols, enable multi-factor authentication on every account that you have. I know it's annoying. I get it. I do multi-factor authentication all day. Remember, I'm the financial lady.
You are.
So I hold a lot of really, really sensitive information, and I don't want any of it getting out, right? So I'm doing multi-factor authentication all day, every day, and really everyone should be. It makes it a whole lot harder for hackers to access your accounts if you've got that turned on. You want to make sure you're monitoring your accounts regularly as well. Set up alerts for unusual activity and make sure that you review your statements to detect unauthorized transactions. That's going to be your quickest way for catching fraud. And the sooner you catch fraud, the easier it is to resolve and the less financial impact that it has for you. The other thing about reviewing statements, like on a regular basis, I wouldn't do it any more frequently than monthly. You could even look at doing it quarterly, but that's going to keep you a lot more dialed in to your financial situation. I like to call them money dates, and I'll make them fun. So every quarter, I'll sit down and I'll go through financial statements. I'll go through credit card statements to see kind of what I've been spending on. If there's anything that's kind of like, maybe this was a little excessive. Maybe this was an emotionally based choice or purchase. I'll circle it and then, kind of process it. Another thing that I'll touch base on in those many dates are kind of big picture financial goals. And I'll make them fun by ordering my favorite meal or, putting myself in a really comfy environment so that I look forward to, doing that work. So great way to protect yourself against fraud, but also a great way to just stay dialed in on your financial situation and keep yourself moving forward. Another thing that you want to make sure that you're doing, particularly feds, okay? Feds who are still working, secure your EOPF records, okay? Make sure that you have, we talked about this on the podcast a couple weeks ago, so hopefully all of you have done it. But if we've got new listeners, download a copy of your electronic official personnel folder. If you need to know how, go to stwserve.com and search EOPF. You will find very specific instructions on how to do it. Keep a physical copy somewhere in your home. Keep a digital copy, okay? Make sure that you're keeping it securely. So in your home, that looks like a fireproof, waterproof safe that is locked. And digitally, that looks like behind some kind of passcode encryption. It's pretty easy to passcode encrypt things these days you can kind of Google instructions on how to set that up. Okay. So essentially you've got and this is kind of how things go in the cybersecurity world, a new technology evolves that allows us to move forward, right? Bad seeds get that technology and use it to do bad things. And then the good guys develop more technology to protect against those bad things that now can happen. So essentially, we've got kind of a next generation of cybersecurity emerging focused on quantum resistant encryption. So how do we set up quantum resistant encryption now that computers can do more? So that's something that's going on in the government and financial sectors. Obviously, there are big investments being made in quantum safe security measures. Obviously, this is a huge thing. If you're interested in kind of staying up to date on those updates, you can look at GAO and CISA, those different government agencies that are kind of carrying the ball forward there. So another important thing to look at when we're looking at passwords is your estate planning in the quantum age,
Sure.
Right? Kind of a big important thing. It's important that your wishes are followed after you pass, and after you pass, there's not a whole lot you can do if they're not. So you need that to be secure. So you want to make sure that you're protecting important account information. Again, I go back to that concept of a password manager. You can put all sorts of information in there, from login details to, social security numbers to, important information that you want to make sure is kept secure. Encrypted vaults are great for that. Please, please, please. The sun has set on insecure methods like writing all your passwords down on a piece of paper, storing that in your bookshelf. If that is you, no shame, but we need to upgrade, okay? Because that's not very secure. You want to make sure, if possible, appoint a digital asset manager, right? Because I hear all the folks that are like, Katelyn, I don't even know, from the moment you started this segment and you explained what quantum computing was, you lost me. I have no idea what you're talking about. Password manager, all of that stuff. Find somebody who does. Find somebody that you trust who does. If you've got a kid or a nephew or a niece, or maybe your spouse is way more well-versed in this stuff than you are, find a trusted individual to manage those online accounts and financial records, maybe while you're still here and certainly after you pass that, so that information can, happen. I've heard horror stories about like mortgages not getting paid, utilities not getting paid on properties after somebody passes away, and you just don't want your folks to have to go through that.
Sure.
So make sure somebody knows how to get the information that matters.
Yep.
And then getting expert guidance. You want to work with legal and financial professionals to incorporate cybersecurity into your estate planning. Digital wills is part of this. Encrypted backup plans is part of this. So make sure the estate attorney that you're working with knows about those things, because the days of just the big estate planning binder, you can do a big binder, that's fine. But you also need to have a digital backup of that information that is kept securely. Okay. So protecting, you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself in the digital age,
Sure.
in the quantum computing age that we're at now. You want to make sure you're taking proactive steps there, that you're staying informed, that you're utilizing modern security tools, and that you're updating your estate plans to ensure the safety of your financial future and also your people.
Literally words to live by.
Yeah.
And Katelyn, I am proud to say that I am no longer of the club where I scribbled it down or had it in a post-it on the monitor.
Yeah.
And so
Good.
I'm slowly but surely upgrading and hardening my infrastructure. So
was that Colin? Did Colin do that? Is that your son?
A little bit everything.
That convinced you?
Little bit everything.
Got it.
I have people. So yeah.
Awesome.
Well, folks, that is all the time we have for today. We'd love to stay longer, but we will be back next week to shoot to you the latest updates that you need, especially right now, to make informed decisions. What you don't know can hurt you. We want to try and fix that. So make the best decisions you can for your well-being as a Fed.
Absolutely. Analytics, because I am that digital nerd, analytics shows me that 3/4 of the people watching our videos are not subscribed. So please, please, please take a second now to subscribe to this podcast. You can do it down below this video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel so that you never miss an episode. And please, please, please do share it with all of your friends and colleagues. You can also subscribe on Spotify. I think that button is to the right.
Yep. And for more information pumped right out to you, hit our blog at the blog.stwserve.com. but even more so, that you'll get the opportunity if it's your first visit to our website and possibly even your second or third to subscribe to our newsletter, the weekly serving. That's our best stuff kicked right out to you. You don't have to go looking for it. So it can just sit there waiting for your Saturday morning coffee. It'll be delivered straight to your inbox every single week.
Love it. And for those who want to dive even deeper into learning about your federal benefits and financial planning for feds, we want to encourage you to visit one of our complimentary webinars. They are held online, folks. Serving Those Who Serve is not removing the remote component of learning about your benefits. You do not have to go into an office and sit down and have us fuss at you in person. You can do it online in an easy and convenient
and
way.
We don't fuss. We encourage. We cajole.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got some good webinars coming up. Want to make sure you guys know about it. We've got a TSP webinar coming up on April 22nd from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I will be hosting that one. It is all about, TSP. It's a great place to start if you're new and you've never attended a webinar with us. TSP is important. Obviously, it's a huge piece of your overall financial picture, and you need to kind of know the ins and outs of it. There's some stuff there that might surprise you, even if you've had TSP for a really long time. For our special provision, folks, we also have a TSP webinar coming up for you. Your TSP is a little bit different, a lot of it different in a lot of ways. And that's why we have a whole separate section for folks who are special provisions. That one will be on April 24th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And that is with the lovely Jen Meyer, who is one of our financial advisors here. We have a FEHB session coming up as well, end of April. That's April 29th. From 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Get all of your FEHB and Medicare questions answered. And that one's going to be hosted by Dan the Man himself. Again, April 29th from 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And that's also a great session. If you're getting close to Medicare age, if you just kind of have questions about FEHB, how things could be better, what you could be utilizing, it's a good way to get some comprehensive understanding there. Of course, if you prefer a one-on-one approach, we're always happy to have folks in webinars. But if you are looking for dedicated financial planning and investment management support, folks, feel free to reach out to our team directly for a financial planning consultation at meetings@stwserve.com. We'd be happy to talk with you to see how we can help.
Absolutely. If we need to, we'll be your webinar.
Yeah.
If you're just slammed, don't have the time, whatever, get with us. We'll make time. We will help you. So thank you for listening to Fed15. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you coming in. Please tell your friends about this. We're getting the stuff out to help, and that's super important, right? So signing off, I'm Dan Sipe.
And I'm Katelyn Murray.
And we're not going anywhere. We'll be back, and we will see you next week.
See you there.